Hey, yo, what's up to everybody out there? Welcome to another edition of the Roundtable Talk, and I am your host, C Money. And in today's episode, I want to talk about something that I kind of see on the streets, and it's kind of something that's hard. I probably talked about it, several times. I've talked about the subject several times, but not in the way that I want to talk about it now. But it's something that's been in because I was out and I'm gonna set the scene. I was out a couple of days ago. I was out and I was running some errands and things like that. And I happened to go inside, go to a CVS, and and I was getting a few things out of CVS, and I come out, and then this guy comes out and say, "Hey, can you help me buy a drink?" And and everything, and I gave him $1 and stuff like that. And I'm like, there are some people, you gotta feel bad for us, and then as I thought to myself, and I was thinking as I think, I'm like, this guy looks younger than me. Look like he could probably be maybe in his 20s or maybe in his early 30s. And it started clicking to me about these things. And I started thinking, I said, this could be a show. And I was thinking about what is it now with these modern day homeless. And I'm not saying homeless as a point as, because remember back in the day when we was out in the streets and we saw people that was out begging for food, we literally saw homeless people who was out there literally in the streets begging because they was literally homeless. Now you see people that that they rather go outside and beg for $1 than go pick up an application. And it was something that was kind of baffled to me. And I say, you see these days, a lot of the people that's out here begging now are younger, and they're not, and they're 21, 22 years old in the street begging for $1. And I'm like, dude, you realize you could pick up an application and get hired anywhere, but you rather be out on the corner begging for $1 to get something. And a lot of these things I look at, because remember back in the day, homelessness was really homelessness. You had beggars that actually was out here begging because they was begging for food because they was actually homeless. Now these days the homeless don't even beg. How much? Because remember back in the day, in the 80s and the 90s, if you was homeless, you was out here really begging, can I get $1? I want to get something to eat. Now, when I see a lot of these services, because they have a lot of programs that, and when you go downtown, well, in my area, in my city, I don't know about where you're at, but like when you go downtown or whatever, there's programs that go out and give hot meals. And I've seen it in downtown Fort Lauderdale. I've seen it in downtown Miami. I've seen it in other areas where, there's like these churches, and these churches and these programs, they'll come and they'll park their car, like even at the church. A lot of these churches, they serve hot meals to people. And I knew somebody that told me, yeah, there's this church here that's not too far in the Overtown area, and every like once a week they serve hot meals to the community. And regardless if you was homeless or not, you came and got a hot meal. There was a church in Overtown that I knew some people that went to that church, and they used to serve. They used to have and it used to be on Tuesdays, if I'm not mistaken. And they used to have a prayer breakfast, meaning that they used to invite the community. They used to come and they used to eat breakfast. And this was back in the mid 2000s. This was like maybe 2006, 2007, whatever. And I don't remember the exact years. And like the people come, they go and they get a little prayer, they get a little message. It's not like church, they just give a little prayer. They pray over the food, and I guess the pastor or whoever's at the church, they give a little message, and they serve breakfast to the community, and they do it once a week. And I'm like, this is what it was. This is how it is now. Back in the day, you literally had to go out there and beg for food because the communities wasn't helping out like how they is now. And I see a lot of these people, because a lot of the older people now, they get their food from their communities. I see them, they on the bus, and they be sitting at the bus stop with a to go one of them to go containers, and they be eating their food. And I'm like, yeah, because they get their food from these programs. They be having programs at the park, or they be having these, cars be parked, where they got these community outreach programs, and they be giving out hot meals with a bottle of water, or a little, one of them little Ritz cans of sodas or something like that. They give them, a little hot meal, and they be like, okay, this is my meal. Back in the day, they didn't have those programs. You literally had to be begging on the corner for $1 to go get $1 cheeseburger, because back then cheeseburgers was $1. Now you got these youngins. They sit outside the corner store. Hey, can I get $1 to get something to drink, or can I get $1 so I can get me something to eat? And I'm like, you realize that you're younger than me. I'm in my 40s, and I looked at these youngins, and I'm like, dude. And I was saying to myself when I gave this guy $1, I mean, he could have been in his 30s, or whatever, because looks can be deceiving. He could have been in his 20s. I don't know, but I know he wasn't my age, because and things like that. Or he could have been, who knows? But at the same time, I'm like, even if you was my age, dude, you know how many jobs are out here hiring, and you rather stand on a corner or stand in front of a store and beg somebody for $1, because you realize the most you're gonna get out of people is probably, maybe the most is $5 out of people. And what $5 gonna get you now? $5 can't even get you a combo at a restaurant. Remember back in the day, $2.99 got you a combo at a restaurant and stuff like that. Now you can't even get $5 can't even get you a combo. At the most, a sandwich costs you $5, and that's the most. And I'm like, because like myself, and I do this all the time. I don't do it, really, because most of the times when I go inside stores, I pay with a card. I don't normally pay cash. I have cash on me, just in case I go to somewhere like a corner store, or somewhere where they don't accept cash. I mean, where they don't take cards, or if they do take cards, a lot of these stores, they charge you an extra $1 or so for a transaction, because they charge you a transaction fee. So I just pay cash, and I always have cash on me, because sometimes you go to a place and you don't want to pay with a card, or like you go to a store and you buying just a soda out of a store, or you buying just a bottle of water, and you don't want to pay with your card. You just say, okay, here's cash or whatever. But I normally, like, if I go inside of a grocery store, or if I'm going inside of like CVS or Walgreens or Publix or Winn-Dixie, wherever, and I, buying some stuff, I normally pay with a card. So if somebody see me outside, I say, I'm sorry, I pay with a card. And it's true. I may have cash on me, but I pay with a card, because, I'm letting you know, hey, I pay with a card, and I be looking at some of these people like, you know what? I don't understand how y'all in y'all 20s and 30s, you can go out there and get a job. Because I know some of y'all is not completely homeless. Meaning you're not living on the street. You're staying or living with somebody, regardless if you're sleeping in your own room, or you sleeping on the couch, or sleeping on the floor, whatever. If you got a roof over your head, you're not homeless. But the fact that y'all come out here and say, I'm going to get up at 12 o'clock. I'm going to sleep till noon. Then I'm going to get up at 12 o'clock. And by 1 o'clock, I'm going to go to CVS. And I'm going to sit outside CVS and beg. Because remember, your biggest fear back then wasn't the homeless people outside begging. Your biggest fear was those advertisers that used to sit outside. Remember, I used to be one of them, because I used to do that back then. Well, you used to have these, like, for instance, Miami Health. Because back then, and that was one of the companies I worked for. I'm not going to lie, but this was for a couple of months and stuff like that. When they used to have those promoters outside, hey, you want to get the paper? Hey, you want to get the newspaper? Because remember, back then, newspapers was actually newspaper. It's not like how it is now, where you can get your newspaper digitally on your phone, where you can look at the news on your phone and you get all the information on your phone. Back then, newspapers was actually newspapers. The Miami Herald came out every day of the week, and the biggest newspaper came out on Sunday, because they had the sales paper and they had more, sections. And literally, I worked for them for a couple of months. I was like, hey, can I get the paper at home? You want to get the paper at home? And they used to be outside of Walmarts and you know, Publixes, and they used to do sporting events and stuff like that and everything. So just was your biggest fear was the street vendors, I would call them, But now you have to worry about the people. And then the thing about it is, a lot of these businesses can't do nothing about them being on the outside, unless somebody come and say you got a guy outside harassing people for money. Then they can do something. Long as you're not inside harassing them, they can't really. Even though they supposed to tell them outside, hey, you can't be in front of our building soliciting, you know, because it's not right, and they can call the police. But getting off track, get back on the topic. I look at this and I say, a lot of these kids, like, what is going on these days? The same amount of time you sit at a store, because if you get $3 by sitting outside of a store, you consider that as good money. Baby, sitting outside of a store versus sitting at 1 hour of work. And if you make $15 an hour and you worked 1 hour, you just made $15. It may not come to your hand right then and there, but you're going to get that $15. And I'm like, sitting outside a corner store or a grocery store or any type of store for 1 hour just to get $3 versus working in a building for 1 hour and making $15 to $20. And I'm like, what does our world have come to? Because remember, back in the day, like I told you earlier in the show, homelessness was actually homelessness. The people that was actually out there begging, they had stories. I've had people come up to me and say, I just got out of jail. I'm on hard times. I got a family to feed, things like that. I even seen people that'll tell you straight up. Back then they had this story, I lost my job, and I'm trying to get back on my feet, things like that. Because remember, back in the day, homelessness, there was 3 types of homelessness back in the day. Now homelessness consists of a whole lot of things. Number 1, you lost your job, whether you got fired or you got laid off, or the business closed, or the business ended up moving to another location, and then that was 1. Number 2, you're losing your place, whether because you lost your job, whether because you can't pay your bills because you don't have enough money to pay your bills, things like that, or whatever the case may be. So you might have a job, but you don't have a place to stay because a lot of the rent increased, or the things like that. Or number 3, wherever you're staying at is closing. A lot of these people, they get forced out of their buildings because they either got closed, the building is either closed, the building was unsafe to live in. I've seen several news stories recently where a lot of people get forced out of their apartment buildings and stuff because their building gets deemed for unsafe, or the company that has the building ended up selling the building and they didn't give people warnings and stuff like that. This is what homelessness was back in the day, and I didn't have a mama and daddy. I was in foster care till I was 18. They put me out on the street. I don't have a place to go, so I'm out here in the streets trying to survive. This is homelessness. You know what homeless means today? Oh, I don't like where I live at. I don't like my mom's new boyfriend, so I don't want to live there, so I chose to live on the street. Oh, I don't like the place I live in because there's a lot of situations going on, so I choose to live on the street. You realize, if I was young and my mama had a new boyfriend or a new husband that I didn't like, I would literally try to find a way to coexist with their relationship just to live. I would not go live on the street and beg somebody for money because I don't like my mom's boyfriend. Remember the episode of Saved by the Bell when Jesse's mom married, not mom, I think it was her mom or her dad married a new lady, and the lady was, I think, a young lady. She was young, and she was probably like in her 20s and stuff, and Jessie did not want to go to the wedding because she didn't approve of her mom, of her dad's new wife or whatever, things like that. And she didn't not want to live with her dad. She just said, I didn't want to be a part of the wedding because I don't approve of my mom. And that's what a lot of the new homelessness is. Oh, I don't approve of my mom's husband, or I don't approve of my dad's new wife, so I'm finna go live on the street because I don't want to live with them. And then they go out here and beg. And then when you out in the streets begging, you're literally supposed to be down on your luck, meaning that you have nowhere to go, you can't get a job. You know, back then, the reason for you can't get a job is one of the three reasons. Number one, you was a convicted felon that you went to prison or went to jail, and nobody will hire you because you have a criminal record. Number two, you didn't have a family, or you don't have somebody that can take you in because you have nobody that will take you in because you don't have family. Because if I had a family that was down on their luck, I'd say, look, you could come stay here for a little bit, but you got to get on your feet. Basically, that's one of the reasons. Basically, you don't have nobody that can take you in. Or number three, you are in a situation that can allow you to go anywhere. A lot of these places, back then, if you have an eviction notice, you can't get your own place and stuff like that because an eviction notice, stays on your record for a lot of years. And a lot of these rentals, they'll tell you if you had an eviction within the past 3 years, you can't get a place. So now, you might be in a situation where you're staying somewhere temporarily and they tell you, hey, you got to get out. And then now you're literally on the street. So, those are the things that consist of you being homeless. Consist of you being homeless is not saying, yeah, I ain't got no food and stuff like that, but at night I go home to my mom's house, I just ain't got nothing to eat. Baby, you live with your mama. I'm quite sure she'll bring you home a cheeseburger. I'm quite sure she got something in the refrigerator for you to eat. By you sitting out here every day begging somebody for food, but you got home to a roof over your head. When I look at homeless people out here begging at these stores and stuff like that, I look at them as if you literally sleep here. Some of these homeless people living better than the ones that's out here begging for food at the corner stores because they get assistance. There are a lot of homeless people that do get checks. They do get Social Security and stuff like that or whatever. It's just a lot of these homeless people, the money they get, they don't get enough to actually put a roof over their head because you realize there are people out here that get $800 to $900 a month in government assistance, meaning they get Social Security or disability or whatever, and they only get $800 to $900 a month. You realize an apartment these days go for $1,000. So unless you find something that is going to be under $800, you have to live on the streets, or you have to live with somebody to actually split the rent. Because now these days, because remember they say when you die, the government only pays $255 and that ain't enough for nothing. A funeral costs almost $10,000. What $255 gonna do? And then it's the same thing with the cost of living. You make $800 to $900 off of Social Security, but all the apartments in your area goes for $1,000. And I'm sitting up here like, I can't afford $1,000 apartment, and I'm only getting $900. And I look at it as if a lot of these homeless people, they use that money to survive. They probably go every now and then into a place and they wash up. They can go buy a nice little dollar meal from the burger restaurants. And a lot of these homeless people, they got cell phones. They be on their phones and stuff like that. I'm like, how do they charge their phones? And I see it sometimes. A lot of the homeless people, they go inside these libraries, and they'll charge their phone number. And they'll sit inside the library, they'll be on their phones, on their chargers. So when the library closes, their phone be charged up all night to where we all done been in that predicament. Because when a hurricane comes and the power's out, you gotta minimize your cell phone usage so you can keep power on your phone until your power gets back on. And imagine you being without power for 5 days, because remember, we done been down there, Hurricane Andrew, Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Wilma, when the power was out for days. And I know when Hurricane Andrew, we didn't all have cell phones, but like when Wilma and Katrina and all of them came, we had cell phones. And you one of them people that say, if you ain't got a portable charger, because back then we didn't really have portable chargers, you like, I gotta preserve my cell phone usage because I need power, and this is what homelessness comes to. Now the homelessness is people outside, and they be wearing nice clothes. They be having on little nice clothes and stuff like that. Stuff they be buying, and they be like, "Can I get $1? Can I get this? Can I?" And I be looking at, and then I be seeing little teenagers be out there doing the same thing. Oh, can I get $1? I want to get something, and I be like, dude, where's your mother? Where's your daddy? Where's your guardian? Who was the person taking care of you? You don't even look like you need $1 to go buy you something to drink. You look like you can go. You look like you come from a wealthy family, but you out here begging for a dollar to get something to eat. And I be thinking to myself, what is going on with today's society that we have young people out here, regardless if they're a teenager or they're in their 20s or they're in their 30s, out here begging when they can pick up an application and get a job. Wayne Dixie hires 15 and 16-year-olds to work in their stores as bag boys. The same thing with a lot of these burger restaurants. I don't know the age limit for a lot of companies, because I know a lot of companies, if they sell liquor, they can't hire nobody under the age of 18. But I know a lot of these companies, they hire 16 and 17-year-olds for jobs, flipping burgers at Burger King or taking orders at Burger King. A lot of these people out here. But you choose to sit out here and, oh, can I get $1? I'm hungry. I need something to eat. And I be wanting to tell these youngins, where are your parents? Who do you live with? Do you live with somebody that brings food into? I understand if you live with somebody and they say you can't eat my food, you got to go out there and get your own food. And if you're looking for a job and you trying to succeed in life, and then by looking for a job, you're hungry, so you have to go out here and ask somebody for a couple of dollars. Heck, I would even apply for food stamps and try to say, hey, I'm homeless, but I'm looking for a job. They'll give you food stamps. There are programs out here that will help you get on your feet. Some of these people choose not to do it because they feel the best thing, the quick way to make money is to sit out here and beg. But you're begging for $1, $2, because if you sit out there at a store and you ask 20 people for money, out of 20 people, you may get 3 people that'll give you something. 3 at the most. Because out of 20 people, somebody's going to tell you, get a job. Somebody's going to tell you, I ain't got it. Or my personal favorite, what I do sometimes, they won't even listen to you. They'll keep walking. Normally when I'm in a store or when I'm somewhere, I have on headphones, regardless if they're on or not. Because, headphones, and this is my trick. If you want to use it, you can use it, patent pending, whatever. I be walking with my headphones on. When somebody try to stop me, and I do this inside the malls too, because in malls you get those commissioner people, not even the commissionary people, the ones that work off a commission, not even that, because I've seen them in malls, and I've just recently seen it in the mall. You go inside these malls, and these people that be selling these perfumes at these kiosks and these products, and they be like, hey, yo, can I talk to you? I be having on my headphones, and I'll be pretending like I don't hear them, but I do hear them. Because I know they're trying to sell me products, and they won't let you go until they sell you a product. So I be trying to, and I do the same thing with the people that be begging at the store. Because I seen it the other day when I went to CVS. They got the same person was trying to talk to the man, and the man just kept going by, and the man didn't even have headphones. He just kept walking. The man like, I ain't stunting you. So you're going to get, I ain't got no money. You're going to get a job. I'm not out here to support you. You're going to get the ignorance, meaning that they're going to ignore you and keep walking. Or you're going to get with me, I use the card. You're going to get 1 or 2 people that may feel sorry for you. But Because sometimes I do be feeling sorry for the people, and because I said it the other day, somebody asked me for money, and I said I use the card. I ain't got no change, and sometimes it be true. It be partially true because sometimes I do use a card, but I do have change. But I'm not gonna give it to you because most of you people that be begging on the corner for money, you go and buy drugs with that, or you go and buy a beer or something like that. And I'm one of the people, I don't support somebody's drug habit. I don't support somebody's habit. A friend of mine all had told me this, and I stick by this all the time. A friend of mine used to say, I'm gonna pretend like this is a cigarette. A friend of mine used to say, if you worked every day, you deserve this cigarette. By you sitting on the corner begging $1 to get this cigarette, you don't deserve this cigarette. And a friend of mine told me that, and I was like, that is real deep. If I worked and come home and I smoke or I drink, I deserve a smoke, I deserve a drink. By you sitting up here begging on the corner for $1 to go get a beer or to go get a cigarette, you don't deserve that cigarette. People who deserve a cigarette, people who deserve to drink, it's the ones who come home tired from work and they've been working all day, an 8-hour shift, doing all that. They're the ones that deserve it. People who go to Chipotle or who go to Red Lobster or who go to these, Chili's, or who go, even if you go to McDonald's or Burger King and say, I want some comfort food, you deserve it because you worked. Ain't nobody finna buy you a nice little combo meal and all you been doing is out there begging. Oh, I feel sorry for you, so I'm gonna buy you something to eat. No. What is your background? What is your thing? I honestly believe I would sit up here and tell a person, what is the story behind me buying you a drink? Where do you live at? Who do you stay with? What is your story? Because before I give you my dollar, or before I give you this, because I remember a story that this had happened with my mom at a church's, and this guy ended up, making my mom feel sorry for him, and she bought him a whole meal, and I was like, are you serious? And this was when I was younger, and I'm like, this man manipulated my mom into buying him a whole meal at churches. Back then, there was nothing. A lot of these combos was like $3-4 for a combo. And I was like, you people are insane to sit up here and think that y'all can manipulate people into doing stuff when you probably live in a whole mansion. Remember the, I don't know if you remember in the movie Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. I believe that's the dude. When the homeless man that looked like, the homeless man was out there begging for money and people was putting money in his stuff, and then he took off his homeless clothes and jumped in his little fancy Mercedes or BMW or whatever and drove off. And I was like, yeah, things like that. You probably live in a whole mansion, but you want your own money, so you go out here and beg. What do y'all think about this modern day of homelessness? Do you think that a lot of the homelessness, do you contribute to the homeless thing? Like, sometimes I be feeling sorry for people, especially like kids, because I've seen kids, they'll be walking around, can I get $1? I'm hungry. And I be feeling sorry for them. I give them $1. But I be wanting to tell some of these people, because you don't have the time to sit there and actually talk to them. But I be wanting to sit up there and say, what is your story? For you to be out here at Publix, or you to be in front of CVS, or you to be in front of Walgreens begging for money. What is your story? Because you have to have a story for you to be out here begging. Because if you live with somebody and they buy groceries and stuff like that, or if you got a roof over your head or you stay with somebody you can eat, why are you out here begging? Pick up an application. Go to the library and get on the computer and fill out some applications. It's free to fill out applications. It's free to look for a job. You don't even have to go inside the jobs no more to fill out applications. They have online applications where you can do it. Modern technology. Why do you sit out here every day for 5 hours begging for money? You've been out here for 5 hours and all you got is $3. But at a job, you can be out there for 5 hours and you can make $200-300 depending on how much you make. So what do y'all think about this? Do you think that homelessness has gotten out of hand? Because it's gotten out of hand to me. It's real ridiculous that the homeless people now, they're not like how the homeless people back then. You literally was homeless back then. Now it's people that's living with people that have a free roof over their head. They just choose to come out here and make a couple of dollars to support their habits and stuff. What do you think about this? comment at the bottom of this page. Email me roundtable305@yahoo.com, because this is getting to the point where I'm thinking, like, seriously, what is going on with modern days now and these homelessness? Because the homeless people now is just ridiculous. Let me know how y'all feel about this. I thank y'all for watching this. Email me roundtable305@yahoo.com. Comment at the bottom of this page. If you've ever been homeless, or you knew somebody that been homeless and they really struggled, let me know as well too, because I want to know the stories behind these, because this is something, you want to know what's going on. So I thank y'all for watching this. As always, stay safe, stay blessed, stay hydrated, and of course I will see y'all in the next episode. Take care.